Have you already looked at Lampy's top cut breakdown for this thingy? I haven't seen it at all. If you can link that, we can take a look at it. I didn't see. I mean, I guess I can just go to Lampy's Twitter myself. Hold up. Up. Let me get it. We have okay. Already got 28 out of 48 decks for the top 16 of the 3v3 YCS. All right. So this is not the full data, but still, shoutouts to Lampy. 28 out of 48 is a solid piece of, you know, info. That's a lot of fire decks. We've got 14 Snake Eye Fire King, which is half of the known field. 9 Snake Eyes, so we're looking at 23 out of 28. That's a lot. That's a lot of fire decks. We've got 3 Voiceless Voice, 1 Branded, 1 Kashtira. And then someone in chat saying there's also a Flu deck somewhere. I'm not gonna lie. I think if you want my personal opinion on how good the fire deck is, I do think we are looking at a tier 0 format as my own. In terms of my own definition of tier 0, I don't look at it in a way of how much percentage does it have. I don't really look at it that way. I look at it from the perspective of, if you are a competitive player, which deck is reasonable to enter the tournament with. If there's literally only one answer to that, I believe then in my book it's a tier 0 format. Like in terms of like all the previous formats, there was always like other decks, and I was like, if you take it as seriously as possible, you could probably come up with different ideas on what you would bring for a tournament. I think right now, at least in the very beginning, and until people start figuring things out, maybe at this point in time, if you are not entering a tournament with a Snake Eye deck, I don't think you have the best chances you could have. I think no matter which rogue strategy you play, I think it has worse chances than Snake Eye decks by a lot. Which in my book makes it a tier 0 format. And whether the number of tops is 60% or 75 or 80 or whatever, it's, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to pinpoint exactly what tier 0 means, but to me this is looking so dominant and so strong that I think you could reasonably think of it as a tier 0 situation. The yearly tier 0 format, I mean, like, I've given you guys on my take on tier 0 a couple times in the past. I think TLDR, I think tier 0 decks can, tier 0 formats can still be good gameplay. I think a majority of the community just hates them because they only have one choice of a deck, like, or like they feel like they only have one choice when they want to try to take it seriously, which I think people simply don't like being forced to play any specific deck. And so at that point, I think every once in a while tier 0 is going to happen, and that's okay in my opinion. I just think it's good if it doesn't last too long. Well, I don't think the fire mirrors are good gameplay. I think they're fine. I genuinely think the fire mirrors are okay. They're not tier mirror matches, but they're okay. I think the worst part about fire mirrors is at the moment everyone is trying to do 15 hand traps. And that mirror match is not very fun. Like the hand trap Snake Eye mirror is not as good as when people are going at each other with raw engine. Like then it's good. But the problem is that everyone at the moment is basically playing the hand trap mini game, which is certainly like I see why that would be annoying. Like that is an annoying type of thing. But the thing is, the format has literally just started. The format has just started. So and any competitive player, trust me, any competitive player is interested in changing that dynamic up. Like everyone is like, it doesn't feel great to play the hand trap mini game every time, right? Like I think there are opportunities to find ways to exploit that sort of behavior, that everyone is playing hand traps, and whoever does that, for example, for the next YCS, like in a week, I think has a high chance of succeeding when that happens. It wouldn't be the first time, let me say that. It would not be the first time that a deck with very few hand traps ends up being the solution to a format where everyone perceives it as super hand trap heavy. Think of the first iterations of Sprite decks, where it was like the first thing that Sprite did was always play a bunch of hand traps. And then, for example, I rocked up to Euros with 0 hand trap power spell Sprite, and that thing was just peak. Like, that deck was really good. And it was a solution to a format where everyone was just trying to throw hand traps at each other, right? And I think there's ways to do this here too, possibly, right? So I'm just saying, I don't think it's a good practice to count out a format on the first weekend, right? Like, if the first iteration of a format is not its last iteration, like, it's not the final say in whether the Fire King or Snake Eye format is good or not does not need to be made exactly right now, you know? Like, it's just the first week everyone is dabbling around with the new cards, and we're gonna have to wait and see what it actually ends up being.